Well, welcome to the BNI Effect, the home of amazing conversations with Brisbane BNI members sharing tips on how to get the most out of BNI. I'm Tony Meredith, and ordinarily I'm a business coach, but today I'm your host and fellow BNI member. This episode is episode number 32, and today's guest is David Walsh. Welcome, David.
Hi, Tony. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you for being here. Why don't we kick it off with you giving us a little bit of an overview of you, your business, and the main services that you offer?
Yeah, sure thing. So I run and own a business called Heart Digital. We're a team of 8 digital marketers. We've got a small team in Australia of 4, and we've got another 4 overseas. And we specialise in building good quality websites, and typically they're custom built. And then once they're built, we do our best to get them found online. And how that can look is via SEO, or search engine optimization, where you optimize a website so it's picked up in the Google rankings and Google searches. That's one way. And the other way is via Google Ads, where you basically pay for the right to get traffic from Google for those searches.
And how long have you been in business for, David?
Going on 3.5 years. Yeah.
Right, fantastic. And what prompted getting into business?
I think I've always harbored a bit of an intention to run my own race, so to speak. I've always been passionate about marketing and communications and leading people. And prior to this role, I was working with Queensland Health during the pandemic, and it was an incredibly busy role where I was advising the chief health officer, for example. And I guess that kind of like just propelled me to try and do something different after a pretty intense pandemic period. And yeah, I thought I'd get into business, and yeah, I've really enjoyed my time so far.
Fantastic. And you've just gone through a recent name change as well?
Yeah, so we used to be called SEO Web Logistics, which is, of course, a little bit of a mouthful. But yeah, we decided to change to Heart Digital just because, yeah, there's multiple reasons. I think Heart Digital rolls off the tongue a lot more naturally. But as I mentioned before, we do offer a few different types of services, not just SEO, which is the first word you used to hear with our old brand name. So it made sense that we evolve, and I think it's got a nicer feel to it in terms of we put our heart into the work that we do, and marketing and sales being the heart of most businesses out there as well.
I love it. What a lovely play on words, which is fantastic. So you can see that you're a previous communications expert, hey, with
Yes,
all the play on words.
definitely. I probably overthink it a little bit, but yes.
How and when were you introduced to BNI?
So I've been in BNI for about 2 years, and you could probably tell this story as well as I can, of course, Tony, because you introduced me to BNI. And for the listeners' background, Tony and I, we worked in a co-working space together, and so naturally there was conversations around the water cooler every now and then, and those conversations sometimes progress to how's your business going, and of course you were a part of BNI then, and yeah, I guess you got me interested in coming along to BNI, and yeah, it was only 2 years ago, but it does seem like a long time ago now. But I do remember I was a little bit nervous coming along for my first chapter meeting, but by the same token, I do recall that there was just a real sort of nice vibe and energy in the room at BNI Oasis, and that was definitely an attraction for me joining.
Fantastic. And how has being part of a BNI chapter influenced your approach to networking?
Look, that's an interesting question for me, because I think, I work in a digital marketing business, and naturally, I have conversations every day with clients about growing their business. So I'm probably in somewhat of a digital marketing bubble in terms of growing businesses and being in the trenches with clients on that front daily. So, I mean, BNI has really opened my mind up into understanding other ways to grow businesses, and thinking how networking can be a key part of growing just about any business type. And within BNI Oasis, there's people within our chapter who pretty much solely rely on that network to grow their business, and that's great. And a couple of years ago, I probably didn't have that appreciation of networking and the opportunity that it can bring if you invest into the process.
Fantastic. How do you measure the success of your participation in BNI?
Look, it's probably a little bit cliche, but I would probably say it's the connections that you build within BNI. And for me, like, I never grew up in Brisbane. I'm from country New South Wales. And so moving to Brisbane about 4.5 years ago, I didn't have that natural immediate network for, both personal reasons and for business networking reasons. So for me, BNI has been incredibly powerful as a tool to, help me grow my network and to expand my reach just beyond just a handful of people compared to when I started. Yeah.
It's interesting. People come to BNI from a commercial perspective, but then stay for the relationships, for those connections that you build. So it sounds like, that's pretty much you, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me as well, like it's not just that too. Like, as I mentioned before, when I arrived at my first BNI session, like meeting, I was a little bit nervous, and particularly, during visitor introductions, when you're encouraged to get up and talk about your business. And so I was really mindful of that fact, and knowing that BNI, if I decided to join, was going to, bring me out of my shell a little bit. And it's not really something that you think about when you sign up for the BNI experience. Hopefully it'll make me more confident in front of a room. But I was conscious of that, and that was also definitely an attraction for me. Not so much a tangible benefit, but it's definitely a benefit. And now, of course, like, I've moved from education coordinator into the presidency role, and I've had to get progressively more confident and, in front of a room of people as part of that progression.
Well, that's all about getting out of your comfort zone. That is, Dave. I mean, the fact
100%.
that,
Yeah.
like you said, you were a little bit nervous there before meeting number one, to then being the education coordinator, where effectively you're up in front of the group every week for your 5-minute education moment. And now, as you said, you've just recently become the president of BNI Oasis.
Yeah. So it's been a busy 2 years, I guess you could say. But yeah, I definitely think that has helped me just in my business life as well. Just being confident in my ability to talk to a room more powerfully, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and I would say, also from a pitch point of view, I mean, you're, as the head of your business, you're out there looking to sell your services. So whether it be, pitching in front of people, having those regular communications, sales conversion conversations, etc. Like you said, you didn't come into BNI for the ability to grow personally and stand up in front of people, but it's been one of the nice benefits that you have developed along the way.
Yeah, 100%. And I just don't think most people think like that. But at the end of the day, there's so much more to BNI than just thank you for closed business, of course. Yeah.
Excellent. What advice would you give to new BNI members to make the most out of their membership?
Yeah, I would say you definitely just got to be a little bit patient. So BNI can be a little bit bumpy at the start, and for me, like, in those initial months, it's a big time investment, getting to know people in the room, investing time in all the one-to-ones that have to be done to get to the point of that, know, like, and trust. So my advice is, the return on investment may not be there initially, but if you trust in the process, if you're engaged in your chapter, it can be beneficial to just about any business out there, as long as you are patient.
You said that your experience was a little bit bumpy initially. 2 years in, you've had a number of roles on the leadership team, but if you had your time over, would you do something different at the start of your BNI journey just to smooth out the bumps?
Oh, that's a good question. It's probably maybe bumpy wasn't the best word, but I I had no sense of what a BNI chapter was all about. So I'd never been to a networking group previously. So that's probably based on my experience in not knowing how to handle those types of environments. But, I wouldn't change too much at all. Like I said, there was a real warmth within our chapter, within BNI Oasis, and people did make me feel welcome. But it's just probably just getting through those initial months where you try and, build a rapport with most people in the room, and you feel confident to, have, good, hearty conversations, whether that be about how your week's going, right through to those more robust business conversations. So it's just about warming to the room and the environment that you're in, I think. Yeah.
Now, I know that I got you into BNI, and you pretty much followed my journey. I was the education quarter and then the president. Now you're the were the education quarter coordinator, and now the president. You know that the next step, mate, is to host a BNI podcast, don't you?
They're big shoes, Tony. I'm not sure about that one.
That's funny.
We'll
Speaking of what's next for your business? You shared with us that you've just gone through a branding and name change. What's next for Heart Digital?
Oh, look, there's just so much change in the digital marketing space. We could probably have a separate podcast just about this topic. And, artificial intelligence, AI, is just heavily influencing digital marketing, probably as much as any other industry out there. So there is just a lot of change coming within digital marketing generally in the months and the years ahead. And for us, and probably for any digital marketing business out there, it's about investing time into understanding where the opportunities are, so you can, pass on those opportunities to clients. To use a quick example, most of your listeners probably have a CRM of some kind, like a MailChimp or equivalent, and have email clients at some point via MailChimp or prospects. And the things that you can do in CRMs at the moment is just quite mind-boggling in terms of outreach and scaling your business, from using AI chatbots on your website to using AI on phone call outreach, for using AI chatbots in SMS conversations that are just so good at what they do that you would not realize that you're chatting to a bot. And they're the types of things that we're, investing our time in at the moment, just to understand where those opportunities are. And the learning curve is quite steep, but it's just really exciting at the same time, to be honest. Yeah.
How do you and your team keep up? Because you're right, like the learning curve is so steep and it's moving so quickly. I would imagine that, it's a challenge for not just your business, but all businesses, just to stay up with the latest trends.
Yeah, look, there's a big investment of time in professional development, if I'm being honest. And, definitely within our leadership team of my company, they're all encouraged to, attend conferences, webinars, all that sort of stuff. We also follow, and it's a space we play in, but within social media, we try and follow thought leaders to understand trends. But yeah, like at the end of the day, it's an investment of time, because we've got to be at the cutting edge of these opportunities, because it's just moving so quickly. And if we get left behind, we get left behind as a business. So we're very much on the front foot, and if we're not, well, our clients will miss out. So we've got to be driven, and we've got to be engaged in this change.
And how do you see your relationship with BNI evolving as your business grows, David?
Yeah, for me, well, my relationship's changed with BNI in the last month, of course, just since I've taken on the presidency. And I'd like to think in the last 2 years, I've been really engaged with my chapter. And that, of course, has to continue as part of the president's role. But, if I look at the last couple of days for me personally, like yesterday, I met with a president of another chapter. Tomorrow, I'm visiting BNI Dragonfly as well. So for me, my focus is expanding my network beyond BNI Oasis. And, the idea for that is primarily to introduce new ideas and, think about better ways of doing things within our chapter. But it also has the added benefits of expanding my network and meeting, other great people within BNI beyond my chapter. So yeah, like I'm really invested in the BNI community at the moment, and clearly for me, given my role, that's not going to change in the next 12 months.
And I think it's a good point that you make, David, that you come into BNI, you have your own chapter, but here in Brisbane, there's something like 40 other chapters, so you can go to as many chapters as you want to. Obviously, you need to be conscious of the fact that there might be some classification clashes, but you can certainly go around to, potentially 40 odd chapters. In Australia, there's something like 280, 290 odd chapters. So there's just an enormous amount of opportunity in BNI just here in Australia, not forgetting that BNI is a global organisation as well.
Yeah, and 100%. And like we said before, it takes time to build the rapport within your chapter. And I think that's really important. And it's important to make that rapport sustainable. But there's also just many opportunities in Brizzy, like you say, but also elsewhere, where there's some other amazing people to meet and other amazing people, other amazing businesses to understand and potentially partner with, different projects or opportunities on. So yeah, like BNI is incredibly powerful, and that's definitely getting out and about is definitely one of my priorities at the moment.
Very good. If you could share one piece of wisdom with our listeners, whether they be BNI members or not, what would that wisdom be, David?
Look, I'm probably a little bit biased with this answer, to be honest, Tony, but I'm going to say for me, and I have this conversation with business owners practically every day. It's the value of having a good quality website. So, quite often as business owners, we tend to focus on things that we can touch in terms of a nice office space or a good shop front, and that's kind of all in the offline space. But having a powerful presence online is incredibly important. And even within, say, BNI, when you hand out your business card, you'll have your URL, your website URL on there. And, with your, say, your auto signature, when you send out an email, you'll have your website URL on there. And people naturally scope you out. They visit websites. They might even Google you. They might even go to your LinkedIn. And if your online presence is not up to speed with where your business is at, whether it's a little bit dated, doesn't look particularly professional, maybe it's not really resonating with your particular audience that you're chasing in terms of prospects and clients, well, people are going to keep moving on and find something that does better resonate with them. So yeah, that's a common conversation I have all the time. And it can be a huge game changer having a great website for practically any business.
Great advice, David. Thank you. And I would agree. You talked about the shop front being the physical bricks and mortar, but your website is your digital shop front, and you want to have it create the impression that you're looking for when someone happens to, browse by. So terrific advice. Thank you. How can listeners learn more about your business or get in touch with you, David?
Best way to do that is to check out our website, which is heartdigital.com.au, or I'm happy to receive an email as well, of course, which is david@heartdigital.com.au.
Excellent. Thank you, mate. I really appreciate you being here. Well, that wraps up another episode of the BNI Effect. I hope you enjoyed today's discussion, and I want to extend a massive thank you to our guest, David Walsh, for sharing his insights with us. If you found value in today's episode, then please remember to subscribe to the BNI Effect on your local favourite podcast platform, and thank you for listening.